let's start. The first movie I will be recommending is called Jacques, and it is directed by Roman Polanski. I know Roman Polanski is very controversial, but if we focus on his filmmaking, I would say he's one of the best filmmakers. And this particular movie, I think, is brilliant and very shocking. And I was very impressed by it. It was released in 2019, and the story takes place in mid 19th century France, and it's the story of this Jewish young man that gets wrongly accused of being a German spy, that he was spying for the Germans while he was in the French militia. So he gets expelled from the French militia in a very humiliating way. And then General Picard discovers that he was wrongly accused and risks his life and his livelihood just to get him out of prison. And, he goes through so much. And I'm not going to tell you more, but it's based on a true story. Alfred Dreyfus, actually, novelist Emile Zola, wrote an open letter to the French newspaper at the time expressing how appalled he was for this injustice. But it's shocking, and you would think that it would be in the French government's best takes place in the 50s, Mexico City, I believe, and he meets this young man in Mexico City. He's American, and he meets another American young man and gets infatuated. So, and he's on a quest to find ayahuasca in South America, and he attempts to invite him. I would say it's a heartbreaking film. If you've ever been rejected, it's gonna hit hard. It's about longing and about desperation, but I would say you may find the dialogue to be a little bit simple. I don't know, but as a whole, it's very heartbreaking and it's full of symbolism, and you can interpret it however you want, but I had an interpretation, and yeah, the second time it made me cry. The first time I didn't care for it, but the second time I watched it, yeah, and it was very touching. But anyway, I recommend you see it. The only thing I didn't like is that they portray Mexico. It just doesn't look like Mexico City. I think they filmed it in Italy, and yeah, especially in the neighborhood where the story takes place, La Condesa or La Roma, it doesn't look like it at all. But who knows? Maybe in the 50s you would see neon signs everywhere. I doubt it, but who knows? But it's an interesting film. But anyway, moving on. This film, I saw this film when I went to visit my mother in a very small cinema in Argentina. My mother is from Argentina, and I visit her. I try to visit her as often as I can. And this movie was playing at the little cinema where she goes, and it's a small budget film, but there's Patton Oswalt and a lot of other, James Morosini, who is also the director, Claudia Zaleski, who is, I believe, I don't know, I think she's related to Billie Eilish in some way. She's the fiance or the wife of her brother, something like that. Rachel Dratch, and Lil Howery and Amy Landecker, but it's a good cast and the acting is great. Maybe the story is a little unusual, but I would say it's very well directed and it's funny. I think Patton Oswalt is great, and he's the heart of the whole movie. If you like Patton Oswalt, you'll love this movie, and he's very funny, and yeah, it's interesting. I'm not sure how that would happen in real life, but apparently this story is based on the director's own experiences with his father. Hard to has a very hard time growing up and with his parents. In a way, it's bittersweet, but I don't know how your childhood was, but I remember I, yeah, I tried to be a good child, but I often failed, and I felt very connected to this little young man's story and how it, how, how what, and the things that happened. It's a beautiful film. Um, Highly recommend it. And the next film is Rosemary's Baby. I think this is one of the most iconic films. I think that everyone, every terror movie sort of copied the kind of music and the kind of soundtrack that this movie used. You know, the tender singing with the sort of sinister context of the whole movie. But anyway, Rosemary's Baby is also a film by Polanski. If you believe in conspiracy theories, you'll see a lot of symbolism and a lot of coincidences. But, you know, if you don't believe in all that, the filmmaking is spectacular. The characters are so well made, and it's funny because it's so real. And I think that's why it's scary to me that you can find those kinds of people that are portrayed in this movie anywhere. So it's a story about Rosemary. I mean, you've probably seen it because this is a classic, but every time I see it, I am amazed by the acting, by the screenplay, by everything. I think this is a very underrated movie, but it's a classic. The next film, also a classic in some way, Goodbye Lenin. Adios a Lenin. It's a German film by Wolfgang Becker and by Daniel Brühl. Is a very famous actor. I think he was on Inglourious Basterds, directed by Tarantino. But anyway, this movie is very sweet and beautiful. So it's about this guy this young man that doesn't want to tell his mother that the Berlin Wall had fallen because she's an idealist. So he does whatever it takes so his mother doesn't realize. It's a sweet film and very, very interesting. Highly recommend it. It's funny too, so. And last but not least, As It Is in Heaven. It's a Swedish film. I don't. So it's by director Kay Pollak. This is one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen, and it's about a very famous music director. I don't know how to say it. It's about a very famous musician that gets sick and goes back to his hometown and decides to start a choir with the people in his town. It's very beautiful. One of the most interesting things that they say in this film is that everybody has their own sound. I mean, literally and not literally.